Welcome to Life Quantum Action. This podcast is for people who already know the work and are learning how to live it. We talk about identity, business, money, leadership, and what it actually takes to stay with who you're becoming when life applies pressure. I'm Carly, and I am so glad that you are here today. And this episode really is specifically about staying with who you're becoming when life applies pressure. And I'll be really transparent with you about this particular episode. It almost didn't happen. And the past week or even the past couple of weeks have been challenging, or perhaps we'll say character building, have been really character building, right? And, the details of that are not ready to be shared, and that's okay. But what I will tell you is that I've been really sitting with every fucking possible reason under the sun to not record this episode. And we are on school holidays in South Australia, so I've had my daughter home a little bit more than usual, which, effectively means a little less capacity, a little less, clock time available than I usually would have to sit down and actually record. There's been a lot happening personally, which has led to so much more inner work and all of the things. And there's been that feeling that, I should wait until I feel more settled, or I should wait until I feel more grounded, more like myself. But I kept coming back to this same thing. And it's that, waiting for something to feel better, waiting for something to feel different, or waiting for a circumstance to change is an old pattern that I am very familiar with. And I've been there before, and I know what repeating that pattern actually costs. So today is this beautiful moment of really consciously breaking that pattern and sitting here and recording anyway, and showing up not through the lens of, hey, everything's fine and I am totally ready to be sitting here recording this episode, but showing up because of who I've decided to be, because of who I am deciding to be. And when we make a decision to shift who we're being, to really step into a new identity, right? That choice doesn't come with conditions. It's not I'll just be that version of me when it feels easy, or I'll just be that version of me when the sun's out because I feel happy. I'll just be that version of me in these moments. It doesn't work like that. Most of us are very familiar with waiting in some capacity, in some way, shape, or form, and in any area of your life, right? How we do one thing is how we do anything. Okay, so it could be that you are waiting to feel more confident to record a podcast, or to go live on your socials if you're in business, or it could be that you are waiting to feel more certain before you make a big decision. You're waiting to feel more settled, or you're waiting for the conditions to be right before you do the thing. And maybe you've read the Dr. Seuss book, Oh, the Places You'll Go. And there's a whole page in there about how humans get stuck in the waiting place. They're waiting for all of these, it's very comical, waiting for all of these crazy things to happen before they actually make moves and take action and, move towards living the life that they want to live by being who they choose to be, by being who they desire to be. And so we get stuck in this waiting place. And it can feel like in the moment, it can feel like you're being responsible, and it can feel like you're just being, I'm just considering everything and all of my options. I've got this self-awareness and I'm really honoring where I'm at. But what I've noticed within myself, and in just about every woman that I've ever worked with in my business, is that waiting for something to change, or waiting for yourself to feel differently, is absolutely a choice. But it's a choice that we're making from an identity that we don't want anymore. It's a choice, it's a decision that we are making from an outdated version of ourselves. And so, if you think about it, it's that version of you who needed just everything to be absolutely perfect before they moved. Or it's the version of you who needed to see evidence before you believed that you could have the thing. Or you needed to feel completely ready with like every I dotted and every T crossed before you began. And that version of you, like, they're not wrong. But understand that this is a form of protection. That version of you is protecting you. And also, while it's protecting you, it's also keeping you exactly where you are. And so this week, I noticed the pull to wait like quite clearly. And it's funny because it was only in the podcast, but it just sounded a bit like, not yet, Carly. Wait until things settle. Wait until you feel a little bit more like yourself. Just wait for this, just wait for that. Wait till you've got a bit more time, blah, 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 right? All of that really, I was going to say unhelpful, and it is unhelpful, but it is the old identity trying to protect you, right? To protect me. But the beautiful thing about this moment is that I actually recognized it, right? I recognized that pull to wait and to pause and to like pull back. And that hasn't always happened before. But I really saw it for what it was, and I really saw it as the old pattern. And because I was able to see it as the old pattern, I was able to choose differently. And so at some point, within the last 24 hours, let's say, I just came back to something incredibly stupidly simple. And that is the fact that I have a choice. I have a choice. I have free will. And I can keep being that version of me who waits. That version of me who waits for permission, who waits to feel better, who waits for everything to be perfect. And essentially that version who gets the same result. Or I can be and I can move differently. I can be and I can move in accordance with the version of me who fucking moves anyway. And potentially get a different result. Because at the end of the day, we sit down to record our podcasts, share content, whatever it is that we're doing in our business, and we don't necessarily know what that's going to bring. Okay? Like when I sit down to record a podcast, I don't know how many people are going to listen. I don't know if what I share is going to land with someone. I don't know if someone's going to have a moment and go, holy shit, that really spoke to me and that really helped me. Or if someone's going to go, what a load of shit. Okay, at the end of the day, I don't know what recording this episode brings. But I know what not recording it brings. Not recording it brings the same thing that the old pattern always brings, which is the same result. And so I kept coming back, and I keep coming back to who I'm choosing to be. Not who I feel like necessarily today, but who I have decided to be. And they are two very different things. And the gap between those is where a lot of people get stuck. Because identity isn't based on how you feel on Tuesday or how you feel on Friday. It's a decision that you keep returning to. It's a decision that you keep returning to, especially on those days where everything in you wants to do it the old way, where everything in you just feels like, oh my God, it would be so much fucking easier if I didn't care this much about actually changing my life. And if I could just keep being who I've always been. Because at least then I know what's going to happen. At least then I know I feel safe and life feels familiar. And so we have the opportunity here. And I always look at this as like such a beautiful invitation, that this is the invitation to go first. You go first. You do it first. And the identity follows. You make the decision from the identity, and the feeling, follows. And that doesn't mean that you force yourself into doing things that don't feel good. And that doesn't mean that you override how you're feeling or you pretend that those feelings are not there. We're not about bypassing or anything like that. But I mean making your decisions from the identity of who you're choosing to be, not from how you're feeling when you wake up and you're feeling a little bit tired. So ask yourself, like, what would the version of me who has already decided who she or he is, what would they do right now? How would they show up? Not the version of me who is waiting to feel ready. The version of me who already knows. And then you go and do that thing, which is why we're here recording today. You go and do the thing before, the feelings catch up. You go and do the thing before the conditions and the circumstances are perfect. You go and do the thing before you necessarily even feel like yourself again. Because this is exactly what I have found within myself. And again, what I've watched and witnessed happen with all of the people that I've worked with is that the feeling doesn't come first, it follows. But we are so, not all of us, but so many of us are like, no, I have to feel good before I go and take action. I have to feel good before I can go and do the thing. I have to feel safe. But we're forgetting that that's the wrong way around. The feeling doesn't come first, it always follows. And sometimes it comes quickly and sometimes it takes a little bit longer, and that's okay. But it always follows the action. It's not the other way around. And every time you're waiting for something to feel better before you move, you're teaching your identity that it comes with conditions, or that the conditions have to be right and have to be perfect before you do something. And what does that mean for next time? Well, it means that the bar gets a little bit higher. It means that the waiting draws out for a little bit longer. What I want you to know is that having a hard or a challenging moment is not a sign that you're doing anything wrong. Those moments are not evidence that the work you've been doing isn't working. And I will fucking shout that till I'm blue in the face. The hard moments are not reserved for people who haven't done the inner work. Everybody has them. Every single person standing on this planet who has ever been on this planet, who you've ever walked past in the street, who is even projecting, that their lives are perfect. Every single highlight reel that you see on Instagram, every single person has challenging or character building moments, regardless of how grounded they might be, regardless of how much work they might have done, regardless, and hear me when I say this, of how stable their identity is. What changes is not whether you experience hard moments, but it's who you choose to be inside of them. And that is where the real work happens. The work is not in when everything feels good and everything's easy and the conditions are perfect and you're full of clarity and certainty and you're outside skipping in the sun through the fields. That's not the work. Because in those moments, anyone can stay. Anyone can be who they want to be. It's easy. But what takes courage? I think courage is the right word for it. What takes courage, and maybe discipline is another word for it, is to continue to be that person when you feel wobbly, when you feel like everything could just come crumbling down in any moment. They are the moments where the identity work and the stabilization actually really happen. When it's hard and you choose to be that person anyway. So if you're experiencing a character building season, I'm not going to sit here and tell you to just push through it. But what I would ask you is, what would the version of you who has already decided who they are, what would they do today? What would they do today? Not the version of you who's waiting to feel ready, but the version of you who already knows. You don't have to feel ready. Things don't have to be perfect. You don't always have to have all of your ducks in a row. You just have to keep coming back to the decision and keep asking yourself, who am I choosing to be in this moment? Who am I choosing to be? That's the work. That's it. That's the identity work. If this has resonated with you, then the Stay audio is in the show notes, and it was made exactly for this kind of moment. The moment where you're not quite steady, but you're choosing anyway, and you're persisting. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you in the next episode.